Sometimes, as I mentioned to you, I hear that we haven't cut enough. Many of you don't know that since the recession began in '08, we have been in a no-win situation. When you have a recession like what we've experienced, the worst recession in history, the demands for social services dramatically go up at the same time that our revenue dramatically goes down. That's the crisis that we have found ourselves in. Medicaid costs alone have gone up 23%. Now, have we managed our Medicaid inflation? I want you to know that we have. Our Medicaid inflation rate is just over 2%, which is among the best in the country. The rest are experiencing about 8%. So we together are doing a good job, but still you can't absorb that kind of inflation when your revenues are going down. We have cut more than $500 million in long-term care, DD, and mental health. We've cut our public schools by 26%, our community colleges by the same amount, our four-year universities by 46%. So to say that we've not cut enough, when I think we have now cut to the core of what is fundamental responsibility of state government, I just do not agree with at all. Some have said, well, you need to reform. That's really what you need to do. You need to reform before you do anything else. The reforms that we have put in place over the last 3 years are historic, so I'd like to put it in perspective. The fact of the matter is, we transformed our workers' compensation system this last year, more than has ever been done in the 100-year history of that program, saving our businesses about $1 billion over 4 years, and letting our workers who've been injured get back to work sooner than they otherwise would. We have not wasted the crisis. We have managed to reform our unemployment insurance this last year to save businesses about $300 million. Let me tell you the result. We are now rated as one of the most sound unemployment insurance trust funds in the country. Most of the states, well over 50%, have gone bankrupt in their insurance trust fund, have had to borrow from the federal government. So when we come out of the recession, they will have to pay back with interest, they will have to replenish the trust fund, they will have to continue to make the payments. Who do you think bears that responsibility and go to business? While Washington State is sitting with the best trust fund in the country. Now, I can't say the best. There are 2 other states that are similar to us. Frankly, not very many people live in those 2 states, so I'm very proud of the fact that a highly populated state of 6.7 million, we have the most sound trust fund in America. We reformed our pension system to save about $7.6 billion over the next 25 years. We are now ranked one of the most sound public pension systems in America. We've consolidated 5 state agencies. We've closed 4 prisons, a juvenile facility, an RHC for the developmentally disabled, bringing them back into our communities where they can be served. And the last time, for perspective, that a major institution was closed in Washington State was when Dan Evans was governor of Northern State Hospital. That puts in perspective. So we've adopted a user pay policy for our state parks and for our adult family homes. So to those who say we have not reformed, again, I would say, oh yes, we have. So with the additional about 430 to 440 million, the question becomes whether they have to do what I had to do and recommend in November, which was to say, I think we ought to go out, I think we ought to ask the public for a half penny in the sales tax. I know it's regressive, but what I find regressive is what we're doing to our safety net. I find that more regressive. What we're doing to education for our kids, that's more regressive. So the fact of the matter is, let me ask, if I was to ask you, when's the last time the state raised the sales tax? How many of you would say yesterday? And the time before, the day before, right? When was it? It was 1983. What was the economic time? It was the worst recession before this one. It was a Republican governor. The fact of the matter is, this is not about partisan politics. This is about fundamentally saving our safety net, education, and public safety in the state of Washington. So while they may have additional money, my priorities remain the same. I don't believe that we should cut K through 12 and higher education like we were forced to do in my budget. I don't believe we should cut developmental disabilities or senior citizen services like was cut in my budget. That has to be fully restored. And I don't believe we should let those who are sentenced to prison out 5 months early and then not supervise them when they get out and leave our communities at risk. Those priorities remain the same. So, to me, this is all about our future. Now, I know there's been some suggestions about, well, surely there must be some gimmicks you can come up with. Well, I got to tell you the truth. The truth is, we're coming out of the recession, but it isn't going to be like this. It isn't going to be vertical. It's going to be long haul. It's going to be hard. So if we're going to come out of this recession over the long haul, we need to understand that we have to be smart about what we do today. We need to ensure that our seniors have a right to live with respect and dignity, and the dignity of their own homes if that's what they choose, in their communities or are developmentally disabled. We need to make sure that those values that you share are the values that that budget shares. A budget is a document of values. It's not a document of numbers. The numbers are nothing. It's the human faces behind the numbers that really mean something. So as you go to the Hill today, remind them, this is their legacy. They have to stand up for the people of the state of Washington and the values that we share. And I believe we share the same values. Since 2008, we have stepped up to the challenge. We have one of the best bond ratings in the country. Wall Street looks at us as having managed our way through this, unlike many others who are virtually in a state of bankruptcy like California and other states. At the same time that we have done that, we have had historic reforms. They have been right. They've sent us on a trajectory that will help us in the long haul. But we cannot continue to cut and cut and cut and have our safety net frayed in a way that we leave behind the very people that I think we ought to be working for every day to ensure they get what they need. We cannot leave behind particularly our poor children by not giving them the kind of break they need in education so they can do a good job. And we cannot leave our communities unsafe. That's the values of the people of the state of Washington. Those are my values. We've worked together throughout the entire time I've been in office. We have made good progress. We cannot give up. There is light at the end of the tunnel of the recession. Let us not look back on this historic time and say, we failed our values, we left people behind. Let us stand up and do the right thing for the people of the state of Washington. Thank you very much.